You're lying awake at 2 a.m., terrified of signing a $400,000 mortgage. The monthly payment haunts you. The 30-year commitment feels like a prison sentence. You're paralyzed by fear. Meanwhile, there's an investor sleeping peacefully with $400 million in debt. Stop. Look at that again. Here's the ultimate rich person paradox. When you're $1 million in debt, it's your problem. When you're $400 million in debt, it's the bank's problem. I'm Sam, and I just sold all my Florida properties. Not because I'm scared of real estate, but because I finally understood the game the ultra-wealthy are playing while everyone else is stuck playing by the bank's rules. Today, I'm going to show you why Florida's insurance trap forced me to audit my entire real estate strategy, and what I discovered will completely change how you think about building wealth through property. Let me start with why Florida became uninvestable overnight. My Florida properties were cash flowing beautifully. $2,800 in rent, $2,200 in expenses, $600 monthly profit. The math worked. Then my insurance renewal came. $1,800 per year became $4,200, then $6,800. Then some properties couldn't get insurance at any price. My $600 monthly profit just became a $183 monthly loss. I went from building wealth to subsidizing someone else's lifestyle while hemorrhaging capital. But here's where it gets expensive. This isn't just a Florida problem, it's a system problem. And the insurance crisis made me realize I've been playing the game wrong the entire time. Let me show you the traditional real estate nightmare that keeps regular investors broke. You want to buy a property. First, the bank runs your credit through their algorithmic execution system. One missed payment 3 years ago, denied or hit with the credit tax, a 1.5% higher interest rate that costs you $129,000 in extra interest vapor over 30 years. Then you need 20% down. That's $80,000 trapped as dead equity that can't compound at 10% in the market. Then the appraisal, the inspector, the realtor taking 3% on each side, 6% total. Closing costs, title insurance, escrow fees. By the time you close, you've paid $30,000 plus in transaction friction to the banking cartel and their gatekeepers. And for what? To enter a system where you're the unpaid janitor for a deteriorating asset while the bank collects interest vapor and the government passes regulations that turn your investment into a liability. Wrong. Dead wrong. There's a cheat code the ultra-wealthy use to bypass this entire extraction system. It's called creative finance. Creative finance mathematically eliminates the bank, the appraiser, the inspection, the real estate agent, and the credit requirements. Here's how it works. Instead of going to a bank, you go directly to a seller who owns their property free and clear. You structure a deal where you take over the property with seller financing. No bank approval, no credit check, no 20% down payment, no algorithmic ruthlessness deciding if you're worthy. You negotiate directly. I'll give you $5,000 down and $2,000 per month for the next 20 years at 4% interest. You keep the deed until I pay it off. The seller gets passive income. You get control of a cash-flowing asset. The bank gets nothing. The realtor gets nothing. The system's gatekeepers get bypassed entirely. This is the unfair advantage. By removing the friction and massive transaction fees, you can acquire properties at a speed that traditional buyers cannot match. But here's what the Florida insurance crisis taught me. Even with creative finance, single-family homes are becoming a trap. Let me perform the autopsy on why. The government is actively turning traditional landlording into a liability. This isn't conspiracy theory, it's policy reality. California just mandated that landlords pay out of pocket to retrofit air conditioning units to keep properties below 82 degrees. Denver has strict rent control laws capping increases at 3% annually while your costs rise 8%. And Florida? Insurance companies are fleeing the state entirely, leaving landlords with uninsurable properties or premiums that destroy any hope of cash flow. You aren't building an empire. You're buying an expensive part-time job where the government keeps changing the rules against you. An unexpected $20,000 pool repair wipes out an entire year of cash flow. A tenant stops paying and you can't evict for 6 months while you hemorrhage mortgage payments. This is the unpaid janitor reality. You're working for the property instead of the property working for you, and regulatory changes can destroy your margins overnight with zero recourse. So if single-family homes are becoming a trap, where is the smart money going? RV parks and mobile home parks, what I call the dirt empire. Here's the loophole that changes everything. With an RV park, you aren't dealing with landlord-tenant laws, you aren't fixing roofs, you aren't retrofitting AC units, you aren't subject to rent control. It's pure cash flow without the unrecoverable costs of property maintenance. No replacing HVAC systems, no dealing with foundation issues, no unpaid janitor work on weekends. If a tenant becomes a problem, you give them 30 days notice and they literally drive away. No eviction court, no sheriff, no 6-month nightmare. And here's what really separates this from single-family homes: regulatory protection. The government isn't passing laws to help renters in RV parks. There's no political constituency fighting for RV park tenant rights. You're operating in a space with minimal friction and maximum cash flow potential. But location still matters. And this is where the Florida lesson becomes critical. Stop investing in your own backyard if the math doesn't work. Let me give you the metric that tells you exactly where to invest. The U-Haul Index. U-Haul publishes rental rates showing migration patterns. A one-way truck from California to Texas costs $3,000. The same truck from Texas to California costs $400. Why? Because everyone is fleeing California and moving to Texas. Supply and demand. This index shows you where human capital is migrating in real time. And where people are moving, they need housing. Where they need housing, rents rise. Where rents rise, your cash flow increases. The current high migration, landlord-friendly markets, the Carolinas, Georgia, Arizona, and Vegas. These states have population growth, rising demand, business-friendly regulations, no rent control nightmares, reasonable property taxes and insurance costs, strong job markets driving sustained rental demand. This is where you build your dirt empire. Not in Florida, where insurance costs destroyed the model. Not in California, where regulations strangle profitability. You go where the math works and the government isn't actively trying to destroy your business model. True wealth isn't just acquiring assets. It's building an empire and a team that runs without you. Here's the strategy. Instead of hiring aggressive closers who churn and burn, hire for relationship building and loyalty. Female-led lending teams often outperform because they build trust-based relationships instead of transactional interactions. And here's the game changer. Give your team equity. If you're buying a $500,000 RV park, give your property manager 20% ownership. Why? Because now they're not an employee. They're a partner. Their retirement depends on the park succeeding. They'll hustle harder than any salaried manager because their equity compounds with yours. Now let me bring this full circle. I sold all my Florida properties because the insurance trap proved a larger truth. The traditional single-family rental model is broken. Rising insurance, regulatory guillotines, maintenance nightmares, tenant protection laws that favor non-payers. The ultra-wealthy saw this coming years ago. They pivoted to asset classes with less friction and more control. The U-Haul Index shows you where to deploy capital for maximum migration-driven demand. And equity partnerships let you scale a team that builds wealth alongside you instead of extracting salaries. So here's your choice. Do you want to deal with broken toilets in a rent-controlled apartment where insurance costs are destroying your margins? Or do you want to collect passive checks from a piece of dirt where someone parks their RV and handles their own maintenance? Drop a comment if you'd rather own dirt than deal with tenant toilets. Tell me which markets you're targeting with the U-Haul Index. And subscribe to keep learning how the ultra-wealthy actually build empires while everyone else is stuck playing the bank's rigged game. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to this channel. See you on the next one.